Hello there.
Hello.
Happy
What are you going to do to
July
me today?
7th. What's going on?
Not much, just getting over the 4th of July weekend and all the fun we had and the hot summer weather.
Did you rip it up? What did you do? Were you out on a boat?
We did go out on a pontoon on 4th of July. It was super hot, super windy. The wind was coming straight out of the south. We were on the St. Croix River and it was white caps and it was rough, but it was fun and it was a gas.
Well, la-di-da. Good. Congratulations.
La-di-da-di-do.
Did you watch fireworks?
No.
Okay. Ready for today's rock and roll?
What is your plan to take me down today, Lilja?
No, I'm actually impressed that you came after last week's thrashing. I give you big kudos for coming back. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, I wasn't thrashed because you
I was.
just were the self-declared czar, and you just declared yourself the winner on every question. Had we had an actual scoring judge, I probably would have whipped your butt.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Did I?
All right. Date the rate, marry the house.
Hate that.
How's that working for people?
God, I hate that. I hate these little catchphrases, date the rate. I mean, date, date the rate, marry the house. I don't like that because my personal mindset isn't, buy a house and move every couple of years. I mean, when you buy a house and you move in, I mean, it's kind of a big commitment. It is a big commitment. Um, I do think that the best time to buy a house is when you want to and when you choose to. Um, my wife and I bought a property when we were first married, and it was our first house. It wasn't perfect. We refinanced a couple times when we built our house over in Woodbury. But we've been here for 26 years. So there was a time when we had a hard time affording the house, but now we're good. But it's been 26 years. So buy a house, get in the game.
But you have to assume that you can afford it.
Exactly. And that is what the realtor and the lender are for. And if you can afford X
But that
dollars,
came from the lender world. That did not come. If you go back
well,
and look through social
pay
media,
the rate, marry the house. That's just because they want to sell mortgages.
right? No, I get that. So what my point is, if you look at everything if you were tight 2 years ago and you were hoping that the mortgage was going to fall and it
Hmm.
didn't,
No.
here's what's gone up. Your property taxes,
Yep.
garbage, your cable, your power, everything. So,
Not only that, but if you didn't buy the house because of the rate and you were expecting it to go down, the house is more expensive too.
what do you mean?
The property values rose in 2 years.
But how
So
does
if you were
that
going to
help?
buy a house, if you were going to buy a house on 345 Ruby Lane 2 years ago, and you didn't, and you go to buy that same house on 345 Ruby Lane today, it's going to be more expensive. The
Right, but
property
how does it
value.
help a buyer that bought it 2 years ago and now can't afford it?
Well, if it depends on how they bought the house. If they bought the house with a fixed rate mortgage, taxes don't go up that far to make you not avoid
No,
afford
but
it.
what I'm getting at is if you bought the house and you were barely clearing everyday monthly payments,
Mhm.
you're not in a better position now because the interest rates have, if you were planning on that. That's where I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
And
So,
I'm glad you brought that up because we all know as realtors that when buyers get approved for a mortgage by their lender, they are giving their max approval. Now, is that the best amount of money for them to spend? Maybe not. If you are buying a house and barely making your payment and barely making your bills at the end of every month, maybe it'd be wiser to buy a little lesser expensive house to shave off dollars on your mortgage. Or maybe it's time to get rid of the brand new car that you pay $700 a month for and get a different car.
Yeah.
There's ways to carve it up.
Yeah, I agree. So we have a new listing.
I win 1 point. Stanton won, Lilja 0.
Very nice. We have a listing today. I sent an email out to our brokerage. I met this gentleman January of last year
Uh-huh.
at a show.
At a
Just
what?
at a show, at a
Oh, really?
like a booth.
Oh, that's really cool.
Listed it today, but the point was sometimes we as agents, we just need to keep providing value. We need to keep reaching out to people.
Right.
And sometimes we work so hard at doing something that we don't realize who's in our phone, who's in our contact base. So the
Right.
message that I sent out today was, I sent a copy of part of the text, not verbatim, but that the seller had sent me um last year. And he was like, "Hey, right now, not interested in selling." Well, guess what? Life changes, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Changes. It absolutely changes. So kudos to you for keeping in touch with him.
5 points, 5-1. All right. So, see what you did there? You walked right into my trap. No, I'm just kidding. Um, the other
That just shows how giving of a person I am.
you're a giver. I'm a taker.
You're a take.
Um, Other thing I want to talk about is, all this stuff that's going on. Compass is suing Zillow. Zillow is all upset, and EXP and Compass and X and Y and Z and D and MLS.
Yep.
I think this all is happening because NAR has stepped back into the position of they don't want to cause any waves. So now it's just the loudest voice in the room is getting the most heard. And it's not, and my point with that is none of this really benefits the client.
None of it none of it benefits the client. And I agree with you on what you said. I think that this is um, a plan, in my opinion, for certain brokerages like Compass to just get a bunch of airtime and EXP to get their brands out there and get, they always say, um, no, I mean, publicity is not bad publicity, even if it is bad publicity, but you don't see other brokerages out there doing this.
What I
And
think is the most interesting is whether or not one's right or one's wrong.
Mhm.
What's funny about it, so you kind of have the three big. You have Compass, you have Zillow, you have EXP. And not that I'm not pointing fingers at any one particular. But what's funny is it seems to be that all three of them are making the rule that's best for them.
They
And
are making the
right,
rule
but hold
that is
on.
best
But
for
then
them.
they're suing the other company for not agreeing with them. That's the thing that I find so interesting is that'd be like you suing me and go, Dave, your scoring system is really, really bad. And then I would go, well, it's my scoring system, but I'm going to sue you because you gave yourself a point earlier today.
I think it's a way for them to try to attract other agents to come to their brokerages because, hey, we're going to do this for you. We're going to do this for you. We're going to do
Exactly.
this for you. And it's a way for EXP to get out there and talk about, now we can sell our downline program again. They're unabashedly talking to realtors about passive income and getting into their downline, and they're not unabashedly talking to realtors about in what I see coming to my inbox about how to make them better. It's like this is how you can make more money.
Change the subject. Have you sold a pool, a house with a pool?
I have.
I showed one yesterday. I've never sold a house with a pool.
I have sold a house with the pool. And we sold the house when the pool was in its winterized mode. Although the people that were selling the house had been there for 19 years. The person that took care of the pool was the person that installed the
Oh,
pool
that's right. I remember this. Yeah,
and took care of the pool um, every spring and every fall.
that's right.
Even so, the buyers still requested, and I find them to be perfectly in the right for this. I would have done the exact same thing had I been the buyer's agent, that when the pool gets opened, that they wanted written documentation, reassurance that everything was working properly and there was nothing wrong with the pool or nothing wrong with the equipment. And absolutely.
Yeah.
And the sellers provided all that information. And there happened to be one thing that turned up because when you turn on your pool in the spring, although it was working in the fall, when you shut it down, it might not be working in the spring when you turn it back on.
Things break.
And so they did have to make a fix, and that was okay. And they provided the information to the buyer, and all is good. And now these new people are enjoying this lovely pool in the backyard.
Boy, what a great week to have it, huh?
Oh, God, I know. You know, when it comes to people saying, "Oh, you should never, never, never have a pool in Minnesota. You can't use it for very long." Yeah, that's true. You can't use it for very long, but the people that have pools in Minnesota, when they do use them, they enjoy them immensely. And if you want a pool, get a pool.
That's how I feel about it. I
Mhm.
would love a pool.
I would too, actually. I wish I had, I shouldn't say I wish. If I, for me to have a pool, I would want to have a really nice sized pool. I would probably not want anything less than a 20 by 40 pool. But I would want enough backyard to still have the ability to, play different yard games. And I wouldn't want my whole backyard being taken up by a pool.
Yeah.
But although, I mean, those are kind of like staycation yards and they're fun. Every neighborhood usually has a park. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what are you seeing right now in the industry? What are you, any calls? I felt like it was really quiet this week.
I agreed. I I'm hoping very much that the 4th of July holiday, which was a great week, great weather. I'm hoping that now that today's Monday and the holiday is behind us, that people get back out and look at properties because it has been slow for the past couple of weeks, in
You
my opinion.
probably you probably don't realize this maybe because you don't have younger kids, but school starts really early this year, and it's
Well,
even worse next year.
I've been noticing that the back to school commercials are already on.
We're very early. I think September 2nd, kids go back to
Yeah.
school here.
And I saw that Bear, your son's already in his football gear. Football started.
Yeah, he's already got his equipment and blah blah blah, and they don't start practice yet, but it was all the everything, and then they have another thing in a couple of weeks, and yeah, I mean it's crazy, and you go to the stores and it's like, oh, we're out. It's like so we always
Well,
do
I
our
mean,
football shopping in June. We just
the
have to
fourth,
get in cleats. That's the only thing we're missing
yeah,
right
the
now.
4th of July is kind of, in my opinion, the midpoint of the summer. And getting to the 4th of July this year has been kind of a drag because it's been so rainy. June was rainy, rainy, rainy. But between now and Labor Day, lickety split. It happens so fast.
Well, it's 7 weeks.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's literally 7 weeks because Labor Day is the first. Today's the 7th, so it's technically 7 weeks,
And for Minnesota people, when Labor Day hits, weather changes. I mean, it's just different.
right? Yeah, I just for the fourth being where it fell on a Friday,
Hmm.
normally my phone blows up with Zillow, lake listings, lake inquiries, showings. Hey, we're up north. Can we see this? I don't recall a slower year than this year for a weekend.
Interesting. And interestingly, you have Zillow leads. I have never done that. I have contemplated it, but I have never purchased an area with Zillow. A lot of realtors do. What do you think the percentage is, Dave, of realtors that have purchased some kind of a zip code in with Zillow?
Ever? I think
Um,
it's probably 70% that have dabbled, whether it's Realtor, Zillow, or Homes. I think people, I think it's really high. I
do
think
you?
people don't understand how it works enough when they buy into it.
Hmm.
It's changing, it's ever evolving. Right now, the way that the Zillow calls are coming in are completely different than they were 3 months ago, completely
Hmm.
different than 6 months ago, a year ago. Um,
Do you think it's a bad strategy for realtors that have not or do not participate with Zillow, Homes, or Realtor leads?
no, I don't. I think it serves a purpose to certain agents. And I think, oh, go ahead.
Do you think that the leads that come in through Zillow, Homes, or Realtor for realtors that participate in in that lead source, do you think they're mostly buyers or are there sellers too?
Oh, well, that's slam dunk. I mean, Zillow is 95% buyers. That is why they did this whole tie-in with Showing Time. The showcase was the idea there was that a listing agent pays more, they pay all these fees up front. The idea is that when somebody that listing is up front, that listing is taken away from the buyer agent, or that lead is taken away from the buyer agent. Homes.com has built their concept that it's for the seller. It's for the seller agent. And Realtor.com, I think, is running that middle ground of trying to be a really good platform.
Okay.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think it's hard for new agents. I think it's hard for agents that can't have a conversation because right now with Zillow, the consumer has no idea how they got to you. The consumer doesn't even, oftentimes it's not in real time, so they're getting a call back. There are times 75% of the time, my Zillow call, I'm
Hmm.
talking to the human being and I have no idea what property they're looking at. I don't even know the city.
Interesting.
And it's really hard for when you say, hey, yeah, I'd love to help you. Let me see what I can find out. What property are you calling about? And they're like, do you have it in front of you? And you're like, no, actually, I don't have anything. And they go, well, I don't have it in front of me either because Zillow called me back. So they oftentimes have to dig for it. While they're digging for it, 50-50, do I get like somewhat of a text saying, Bob's on the line is interested in XYZ. And that is really kind of an uncomfortable thing. I think that Zillow is doing what Zillow wants to do, and they're not doing anything wrong. But the idea of educating the consumer is not there. The consumer,
Oh.
here's the other thing too, is the consumer can book a showing. That showing then gets sent out to an agent.
Hmm.
I've had people that come to me and say, yeah, I want to see that house that I booked at 10 o'clock. I'll see you there. And you're like, well, it's 9:45. And you're like, wait, what? And again, I don't know where you're at. I don't know what house. Is it land? Is it house? And by the way the rules state now is you need to be signed. I need to be signed. What are you talking about?
Right.
What's really hard to me on those leads is that you end up having to put the car in reverse to, I think, inform and educate
Hmm.
so that you can go forward.
How come you didn't tell me my buttons weren't buttoned?
I couldn't see it.
Okay.
Um, we do really well with Zillow. We do really well with those kind of leads.
Okay. I don't know. I had a
What?
show. I had a show because I have never done it. I have a showing. I had a showing scheduled um last spring, and um my sellers confirmed it. And then I saw the agent that had scheduled it And I'll just let you know, this came through Zillow. So when I called the agent about the showing, because I mean, this is a pretty substantial home, and it was a luxury level home. It was over $1 million, and I wanted to have a conversation with the agent. The agent tried her hardest to pretend that she knew that she had scheduled a showing, but she didn't. The showing came through Zillow. We confirmed it. They automatically just sent it to her because she had a zip code in there. And I was like, that was so, in my opinion, a very distasteful situation because the realtor should have said, man, you know what? But she didn't. It ended up being that the people didn't buy the house, but I don't know. It just seems so bizarre to
Well,
me.
we don't have that. So the consumer, though, often thinks that they have a showing.
Well, they did because it
No,
was
but
confirmed by
in
the
your
seller.
case, it connected and did the showing. I'm not getting those. I'm not getting random. If I don't know the agent or the brokerage, I usually call.
But I knew the agent and I
Right,
knew the brokerage, and I just thought to myself, gosh, how bizarre.
right.
The seller confirmed a showing request that came in through showing time. The agent didn't do it. The person on Zillow did it, like book a showing on the Zillow app, and it just randomly attached it to this random agent. And anyway, it was bizarre. And in the end, I was glad that I didn't have to deal with that.
We've had this year is on pace percentage wise to be less than it was last year with Zillow. And I think some of that has to do with I think the way that Zillow is operating now, it just makes it's just so clunky. But what you do get a legitimate person who's legitimately thinking of buying. The
Okay.
question is, can you vet them? Can you get them? Can you move them off of it's raining, I'm sitting in my bathrobe, and I want to go look at a house because I'm in Two Harbors or Grand Marais or whatever. That's the part that a good agent's able to convert. So that's why I think it's not super easy,
Mhm.
newer agents.
But the thing about it is that that agent isn't able to jump on the spot just like that, like, jump how high. That person on the other end of the phone doesn't care. They'll just call the next agent.
Right. I mean, I listen to a
And that is
podcast
a
today.
great way to make your profession disrespected because it's like, okay, I'm not available to jump out of my pajamas right now, but because of it, you're just going to go to the next person. That's a disposable agent. I don't like that.
Yeah, but everyone's disposable.
True, but that's
I
a
call
whole.
up pizza place. Oh, it's an hour and a half wait. Next. Oh, I need lawn service. We don't do anything for
You
it.
just made an analogy to a realtor to a pizza delivery.
Yeah, because service is the key.
Well, that's why I prefer personally to work on referral and my sphere of influence because
Yeah, but that's not what you asked.
okay.
Our number one lead source this year is our sphere.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it has been almost every year,
Okay.
right? So I agree with you on that, but we're able to do quite a bit through those other sources, is what my point was. So when I see that there's not a lot of calls, I think because I'm always available on my phone, right? I mean,
Mhm.
99 times out of 100. Oh, I went to a movie. I haven't seen a movie in over a year. I went to
Oh
F1
my
the
God, what'd you see?
F1, the kids wanted to see it.
What is that?
The Brad Pitt Formula One race car thing.
Oh, was it good?
Bear gave it a 10 and a half. Annika gave it a 10. I gave it a solid 7.
All right.
It's the repeat story. Old guy, out of retirement, friendship, bad guy, good guy,
Kind of like the remake of
everything.
yeah.
No, I mean it
You know
really
what?
is.
And back to the whole question again, on Zillow and things. There are many, many, many agents that prefer to work that way.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying.
And
I
it's
think
their business, it's their business model.
I think though, again, If I moved to a new area, I would absolutely, I would go all in on those types of leads. There's
Okay.
like 4 or 5 things that I would do. We've talked about this in other podcasts, like what would you do if
Mhm.
you move? But I also have a lot of experience talking about buyer representation, seller representation. What does this mean? How do we get this? When you look at it, the problem for that we have is because I'm in more of the north, we have so many people that they don't understand what a seasonal property means and how the average lender can't get that through. They don't understand what septics and so it's a lot of educating.
It is.
And the number of times that we have, there's one now, I probably have 80% of my Zillow calls the last week are on this one property. It's cash only or FHA 203B. It's a repair. There's certain things that are wrong with the house. And boy, you feel the enthusiasm go right out the buyer.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Can they do conventional rehab?
yeah, well, it's the 203. That's part of the FHA thing. Not the FHA, but a FHA, I believe it's called. So 203B. Yep. But
Hey, can I
have
share
you done
something with
one of
you?
those?
I have never done an FHA 203K is what I was taught. Have they changed from K to B?
Well, you have to get bids.
Okay, yeah, you do. And then you have to submit the entire bid.
Yep.
Well, I have not done one. However, if I do one, there is one lender who I would only go to because he specializes in that. Like that's his thing.
Right.
And it's not an easy task. So if you do, you just need to have the right lender.
All right.
Hey, can
What's
I
your
share
question,
something with you?
please? You got 3 minutes.
I happened to see a really interesting thing. I don't know if it was on YouTube or if it was on LinkedIn or where it was, but it was a realtor. And it was a realtor talking about the new rules in terms how you can't, bring a buyer into a house without having them signed as a buyer representative agreement. Okay. I thought this was really fascinating. And I sent it to the two young realtors that I work with a lot. He was like, um, there's, he was like, when he deals with the buyer or he deals with the seller. Let's just focus on the buyer first because of all these new rules. He just uses this as a way to educate them. He goes, there are three agreements that you need to purchase a property. If you're a seller, you need to have a exclusive or non-exclusive listing agreement to list your house with Realtor A. Okay. If you are a buyer, you need to have a exclusive or non-exclusive buyer representation agreement for that realtor to show you a house. For you to purchase a property, you need to have a purchase agreement that is filled out and sent to the seller and have an agreement on that. So those are the three agreements that you need to purchase or sell a property. You're shaking
Disagree.
your head zero.
Yeah.
Why?
For sale by owner.
Well, we're not dealing with a non-realtor based situation in a for sale by owner. But anyway, I thought it was fascinating because
No,
it's
it
a way.
is, but also you can do facilitator, you can do for sale by buyer, you can do an attorney. So that's I in principle
His point
I've
was,
heard what he's saying. I get what he's saying. But if we're really going to be honest with things and we're going to say it's about client choice,
yeah,
then we are failing across the industry because we are not talking to them about an open listing agreement. We are not talking to them about non-exclusives too much, as an industry. Not saying you, not saying your brokerage, not saying me or the brokerage. But there are other choices. So conceptually that person is right. A seller has agreed to sell, a buyer has agreed to buy. Let's bring it together through the purchase agreement. I absolutely agree with that
well, I
premise.
think what his point was is to deal with buying or selling a property if you're dealing with a realtor. But
Yes, if he's
you
saying with
also
a
can
realtor,
buy,
you're
you
right.
also can buy through an attorney. You
Right.
also can buy through a facilitator, although I won't act as a facilitator. And you also can quit claim things through title companies. You can also buy directly from a for sale by owner. But my point was to just discuss but the vast majority of sellers and buyers utilize a realtor.
Absolutely.
It's got to
It's like
be in the 90
96,
percentile
97. Yeah, it's like 96, 97%.
of that's like virtually everybody.
Yeah, because I think we're on pace for like 4.1, 4.2 million deals in the US this year. So, which is about average.
And which is fascinating because of all the online portals and all the ways you can purchase without using a realtor or sell without using a realtor. 90, like you just said, 97% of people choose to do it with a realtor. I find that to be a very powerful statistic.
I agree.
Are
It
you
does
done?
show the value of it.
Are you done beating me up?
No, you won. Trophies in the mail.
Oh, God. David Littlejohn, I love you. You're the best.
Peace out. See you next week. Check them
Ciao,
out.
ciao.
Bye.